Welcome to the ManTFup podcast. I'm Kimmy B.
I'm Lenny.
That's right. And before we go any further, let me handle the business. Please make sure that you are following us on all social media. You can subscribe to the podcast pretty much anywhere they have podcasts. That means Apple, Spotify, Google, Pandora, Buzzsprout, iHeart. Anywhere else, Len?
YouTube.
Well, no, that was, but that's for the video component. I was talking about just the audio stuff. Also, YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at ManTFupTV. Now that is out of the way, today, Len, pressure's on you, buddy.
Excuse me.
Are you getting a phone call?
Oh, as a matter of fact, I am, but I'm not going to answer that.
Oh, okay, good. Now,
The excuse me was, if you have any comments or questions, you can email us at kimmyb@ManTFupTV.com.
Such a man. You can email us at kimmyb@ManTFupTV. Yes, you can do that. All right, so you know me.
Send her emails. This way she has to call me.
You know, you want us canceled. You've got an idea. You want me to say something in particular to Lenny because of the foolishness that comes out of his mouth. I'm here for all of it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the blowback on last week's episode.
Hey, listen. We're all about forward momentum here.
I might have been in a mood last week.
ManTFup podcast.
I might be in a mood today. We'll see.
So we're going to focus on moving forward. And today I found an interesting post on Instagram. You know I love a good post, whether it comes from Twitter or Instagram. And it seems like that's what gets people riled up the most as well. And this was under the hashtag ManUp. So like the ManUp hashtag. And a gentleman put out, what if we showed our young men how to value? And then he listed off a lot of things, but we're going to start with the top one. What if we showed our young men how to value books over Instagram? Len, how do you feel about that statement?
I think it's important. I think it's difficult. I think pulling social media out of our kids today is very difficult, but I really think they need to read more. I really think they need to discover more. They're not using their imagination.
Yeah. I you know, it's crazy. I read an article one time and it was from a teacher who was talking about some of the interactions she has with her children or her students. And when they talk about reading, like they legitimately get stressed out turning actual like pages. And they feel like, you know, it's easier to scroll down something than it is to physically, like, it feels longer. They're like, oh my God, these books are so long. Like it's crazy. They're so used to this 15-second TikTok information or 15, 30, 60, right? Like that's how we kind of gauge our interest in things now. But they'll sit down and watch their favorite gamer Twitch for 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's strange, and I don't know how you encourage that, but reading to me I think was one of the best gifts that like my mom ever gave me, was the passion to read. I could read when I was 3, and it's one of those things that even if you can't travel or you can't necessarily afford to experience certain things, you can read a book, and like you said, through the power of your own creativity,
I mean there's
kind of be taken there.
I'm not a big reader.
But you have a lot of books.
I'm not like a novel reader, or you know, I'm not that guy who pictures it in his head when he's reading.
Really?
Nah, not really. That's just not my thing. Now, I do like to read about history and stuff like that.
That's
reading. No, it's reading, and I like to read articles about, you know, different things. So yeah, I like to read. I'm just not a novel reader. I'm not picking up that.
Yeah. But like, so let me take it one step further. Let me ask you, because again, you're the man on the couch, and we're specifically talking about our young men, you know, in today's day and age. I think there's a stigma on boys to begin with, right? When it comes to reading, education, learning, that they're not necessarily as engaged or inclined, unless it's something that really piques their interest, right? Like that's and I don't know how true that is. I'm clearly not a, you know, child psychologist. I have no expertise in the area of education, so I want to say that. I'm just going off of personal experience and what I remember growing up. You know, you were more likely to see a young girl reading a V.C. Andrews book or a, you know, I'm not going to remember the other. Who is the little detective girl?
Nancy Drew?
Yes! Like Nancy Drew. I mean, the guys had the Hardy Boys, right?
Yes.
That was their kind of
Yep.
But I feel like that's kind of one of those things. Like boys would rather be outside playing, or boys would rather be, video games or playing sports than reading a book.
You've hit a good point here because
Wait a minute, 1 second. Don't we usually, whenever I say something complimentary of Lenny, don't we usually
what's that complimentary?
stop down and mark it with the time necessary? Did you write that down? I made a good point. Lenny said it. I want.
No, I said you hit on a good point.
This is the same thing. I hit on a good point. I did something right. I'm
No,
just saying, I want my moment.
You made me
too,
think
Len.
of something. So
You're welcome.
thank
about
you.
Time.
Thank you. It's all you, Kimmy.
It's about
I couldn't do it without
time,
you.
buddy.
So
I just took it
it's
away.
funny. Yeah. Damn it. Fucking old age. Where was I?
Do you need a reminder? Really?
No, I don't need a reminder. Well, I might need a reminder. No, it goes to the attention span and to the to the availability of things that interest people, kids now. So when I was growing up, I didn't have the internet and I didn't have social media and I didn't have, I couldn't immediately take my mind somewhere else. So it forced me to be in the present.
Got you.
Which kids today don't have that. They, before they get out of the classroom at school, they're pulling their phone out of their pocket. So we're taking away the ability for our kids to gain that knowledge or even discover that there's more to the world than what's on that little 3x5 box in their hand.
Now, you've actually inspired a thought in my brain, too. How much of, especially when you're talking about young men, how much of their interests do you think are impacted or affected by the interests of the male figures in their lives? Like, do you think if you have a dad who, again, to your point, is, super interested in history and loves historical books, and you have a young boy who grows up watching their dad read those books or be interested in those things, and your dad shares that interest and that passion with their son, how much more likely do you think it is that the son is going to take an interest in that same thing?
Well, it's having two young boys and being a young boy myself.
Still.
It's one of those things. I told my oldest at one time, I said, one day you're going to go, aha, that's why he did that. And, all you want as a parent is your kid to reach all those aha milestones.
Yeah.
Like, why did you make me do that, Dad? And then 10 years later, they're like, aha, that's why you made me do that. Those are the important things in life. Are my kids going to, my youngest likes to work on stuff and likes to fix stuff. So, I guess he sees me doing stuff and he does it. My oldest bucks the system. He, he's always seen me fixing stuff and doing stuff and da-da-da-da. And, now everybody calls him to hang a TV.
Okay.
That's his thing.
Okay.
He's like, Dad, can I borrow the drill? Why? Oh, I got to go hang a TV over here. Because all his friends, he's like, because all these kids nowadays can't do shit. They got to call the Geek Squad to come, put the toilet paper roller on the fucking wall. So, it's like, for him, that's his, he's like, wow, I could, he's impressing his friends with the fact that he can do this. Yet there's no credit given where credit is due. Where'd you learn how to do that?
That's what I'm thinking in my head.
Yes.
That, as we're having this conversation, I think it's going even beyond, when we ask, what if we showed our young men how to value these things? Part of that comes from you yourself as a man, as a mentor, as a father figure, as just a strong male presence. Part of that comes from you showing the interest, because oftentimes young boys want to emulate the men that they look up to in their lives.
Even though they swear they don't.
Yeah, but
they fight it the whole way until they have that aha moment, usually when they're standing over Dad's grave going, huh, now I understand. Whatever.
That's morbid.
It's true, though. It's true. It's true.
Give him one more. Give him one more. It's true. Just for
it's true. But yeah, I'm of the parenting philosophy of monkey see, monkey do. And I think it's always been that way. You know, I mean, if you have parents that drink, you're going to drink. If you have parents that smoke weed, you're going to smoke weed.
But also, if you have parents, I think, that are intellectual,
Yes.
right? And
No,
they can pass that
absolutely.
on to you. If
Absolutely.
you have parents that love the arts, or if you have parents that love to have fun together, right?
Correct.
You're probably going to.
Yes, but it's what they see. It's not. It's, you know, when you say teaching your child to do this or teaching your child to do that, it's not so much telling them to do it. It's showing them.
So when we get upset at where young people are at today, it begs the question, who do we have to blame for that except for ourselves? If we're the ones that are supposed
Bill
to
Gates.
be facts. But so how do you, I guess, you know, because a lot of the things on this list, so his next one was, you know, what if we showed our young men how to value sports over video games? We live in South Florida, where I feel a lot of young men place a lot of value on sports. But if you look at America as a whole, we've had this conversation, I hate to say it, about obesity with young kids, or about young kids being antisocial. We're seeing these increasing numbers of kids who lock themselves away in their rooms and play, you know.
This comes from early childhood education. We've talked about it. You know, you're taking nutritional training out of kids. You know, they're not getting the 7 food group or the 4 food group or whatever.
Yeah, the pyramid. They're just not.
They're not getting the food groups anymore. Damn it! Not that they're right, anyways.
Sounds like you might not have gotten them either. But okay.
Yeah, I listen. I remember vaguely seeing that picture.
Okay.
But I remember that stuff was taught. You know, we had art in school. We had
you said
physical education in school. We had, you know, where are these things? Where are these things in our public school system? Where are our curriculums being? It's what it is. It's, you know, we're letting down generation after generation after generation.
But again, I don't.
And and it's not everyone, but the ones that aren't letting them down, those kids are getting influenced by the ones who have been let down because of this, because of social media, because everybody's there.
But you know what's weird? Like, I think about my dad. My dad, incredible athlete. I mean, went to college on a baseball scholarship, played semi-pro soccer, tried out for the Washington Redskins. In his older years, he's now a phenomenal golfer. Loved watching sports. I didn't grow up in the same household with him, but as we're having this conversation, I'm thinking I have a half brother and a half sister, neither of whom are into sports. You know, he had a son. I don't know if, I remember when I would go visit him, we would go to the park and we'd kick around a soccer ball. We might, you know, we always did mini golf. Like, we did things outdoors, but it makes me laugh. Like, how is a man who is so, you know, kind of ingrained in activity and sports, how do you have I hate to say, how do you have a son that doesn't value those same things? But here's the deal. My dad didn't have a dad. Like, he had, you know, his father passed away when he was very young, when he was 7. My grandmother remarried an Air Force colonel. I mean, so very, you know, traveled all around, whatever. But he was very, very military. You know, they were
Rigid.
Very, yes. I think my dad had just kind of developed a passion for sports, but I don't think it's something he shared with a male figure in his life. It wasn't like, you know, he had the dad that took him out to the park that threw the ball around with him. That was not what it was. This is just something he excelled at, and I think he found a passion for it. But I feel like that's one of those things, too. We teach people how to be parents, and then that gets passed down. So if you don't have that person that takes that interest in you, you can find a passion, you can find a skill, right? But then when you have children of your own, you may not know how to share that with them if you didn't learn that whole kind of interaction, right? So if you have a generation of parents, like, how many kids? I don't know. It's weird. Like, Lenny, you're a rarity. And I say that because, no, you prioritize, you really do. You prioritize your kids. Despite how busy you are, you make it a point, you know, to either be drop off or pick up parent.
I do, but I'm still not that warm and fuzzy dad. So, you know, I mean, my kids think it's weird if I hug them or give them a kiss. You know, I'm not that.
But did you not have that when you were growing up?
No, I didn't. Not really. But, and it's, you know, I work on it. I try, but I'm not that warm and fuzzy. And some people think I'm a little abrasive.
You?
I don't,
no.
Yeah, it's very.
No.
I had a fucking guy tell me Saturday night, oh man, I'm a little scared of you. He told someone I was with that guy's fucking scary. I'm like, fucking scary. I'm eating fucking dinner. I mean, what am I scaring you? It's just, and my daughter's friends, are you dad scary? Why am I scary? I'm fucking in jeans and a t-shirt. I don't feel scary.
Oh no, you don't scare me, Len. So
it's just weird that people get that vibe.
But again, I think it goes back to when we talk about this, like, you didn't learn that. My dad didn't learn that either.
No,
right?
my dad was scary.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, so it wasn't that warm and fuzzy, come here,
correct,
come here, kiddo. Like,
yes,
that wasn't,
yes.
And my dad, same thing. My dad did not grow up the way my mother did. My dad and my mom, like, my dad couldn't understand how my mom could be so close to her family. Right. And my family is a very I love you family. Like, we don't get off the phone without saying I love you. We're very huggy, kissy. Like, God forbid you're at a family function and you start saying goodbye and you hug and you leave and somebody sees you after you've already hugged them. Your grandmother's getting a phone call. She left without saying goodbye. You're the first person I said goodbye to.
Here's me and my wife at a party. We get there. We eat. We're about 30 minutes into the party. I'm like, all right, hon, I'll be in the car. Let me know when you start saying goodbye.
My God.
She'll be 2 hours saying goodbye to every person in the entire fucking party. So it's not really like that. But when the time comes to leave, I'm like,
you just said bye.
I'm like, start saying goodbye to everybody, and I just sit and bullshit. I got it timed. It's like planning certain things with certain people, and they're always an hour and a half late. So I sit down and I say, all right, start saying goodbye about an hour before I want to leave.
Yeah.
So it works out on time.
But yeah, like, so yes, you do need about that much time. I'm just saying, like,
yes,
my
so
family, like on my
that's
mother's
her.
side. Yeah, and you get in trouble because everybody wants their hug, and then they feel like you've slighted them if they see you before you leave and you don't hug them again.
So you have kids who are being raised by both spectrums.
Yeah. But again, when I think about the sports thing, my dad, again, a gifted athlete, didn't have that connection with his son, which you would think just because as a man but if you're not taught how to teach that to somebody, then maybe you don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a parent.
I mean, listen, I try to I am there for them more. Like the boys, they fall down. Joey comes up, his blood's running down. I'm like, wow, cool. Go wash it off. Mm-hmm. I saw a meme the other day. It said, this generation's a bunch of pussies. I died once when I was 5, and my mom told me to walk it off.
I'm sorry. And right now somebody's watching this thinking that's so toxic. Like, some of the comments we get on our TikTok blow my mind.
But it's true. It's true. My kids are tough. Mm-hmm. All of them. They're tough, but they're not. They're not running the streets type tough. They're just, okay, you fell down, you scratched your knee, get the fuck up. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not the end of the world.
Well, I always thought as a parent, one of the reasons why you did that, and I'm not talking about cursing at your kid and telling them, I know you don't do that, but like, was so that they weren't scared. One of the reasons why you don't, as a parent, make a big deal out of something like that is to not freak the little 3-year-old out, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you're really doing it for them.
Yeah.
Right? But now it's looked at as toxic behavior. And it's like, no, you're actually
now every teenager's got to have a little dog to carry around with them to take care of. It's fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Are there dogs in a stroller? That's where I draw the line.
It's ridiculous. It's like, really, I mean, listen, life throws a lot of shit at you. You're gonna have to get through it. Okay. My kids have gone, like, the 2 boys are lovey-dovey, and I think my daughter might be a little bit like a Richard.
I love Miranda. Miranda's my girl, though.
But she's got that more like me type of, thing. And I don't know.
It's funny though, because in households, like, your kids were lucky they have both of you. But usually boys gravitate to their mothers and girls gravitate to their dads. So if you think about it, if Rachel's side of the family is more lovey-dovey and it makes sense, but these are both guys that love sport. I mean, I think that your
Yeah.
kids have a good balance, to take it back, because I know sometimes we get off track. Just that sports over video games, I'm not mad if you have a passion, but I understand the need to be out, to be physical, to make contact. It also teaches, I think, communication skills. It teaches teamwork. It teaches you how to be social. Like that, I think, is the point when somebody says, let's teach our young men to value sports, teamwork, engagement,
Everything.
socialization over sitting in your room playing a video game for hours and hours and hours on end. Like,
and they all, I think, mine are a very good balance.
Yes.
Mine are, because Joey loves his video games, but he plays basketball and football.
Yep.
And that's what he plays on his video games.
Well, and he also plays video games with his friends. I know Nick is a big, they have like group gaming sessions. So it's a social activity for them too. But I think we have a generation where it's not that, or they're playing, they're again, they're streaming and they're twitching, but with people in,
Yeah, I know some kids that are like that. It's a
Saudi Arabia and in Japan.
It's a total disconnect. And if you can't, I think kids need to be able to talk to people in person and be able to look them in the eye and say stuff to them. And, I go to that restaurant all the time and it's nice. I took Joey, Joey went out of his way to say goodbye to the guy I know that works there. That's my friend. Joey like found him in the bar and shook his hand and walked out. That's a lot for a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Doesn't even know him. Yeah. Only knows that it's his dad's.
Well, consider most 13-year-olds, if you're watching this on YouTube, would have had their face in their phone.
Yes.
Texting, typing, scrolling, like
walking into people on the way out.
Just head down. I saw it at the Art Center. I was ironically enough watching Dear Evan Hansen, which is a play. It's incredible, Tony Award-winning play, but it has a lot to do with social media and suicide, whatever. But this kid, all of a sudden, we're getting close to the end of the first act, and he pulls out his phone and just starts scrolling Instagram
in the theater.
Like, so bright ass light. I get so irate.
Were their parents with him?
I don't know. He was sitting next. I don't think so. He seemed like he was with like maybe old, like he might have been like 18, 17 and was maybe there with like older brother and sister or maybe some classmates or something like that. But I was so annoyed. I'm like, and I'm looking at what he's liking because now I'm distracted because the light is bright as hell. Right. And I'm like, really? You couldn't wait till intermission to like that picture of all, like, it's just wild to me. You're sitting in the theater. It's an experience. You can't be away from your phone for literally an hour at a time. Like, it was wild. It was wild. So that made me sad. But again, I think this is a good list. The next one is podcasts over TikTok, which somebody right there just had a heart attack. Take away my and it's not about taking things away, but we've had that conversation at some of our ManTFup meetings. All of you guys are podcast. Well, I don't know about you so much, but I know a lot of the other guys that work with you. Big podcast fans, a lot of educational podcasts, a lot of motivational podcasts, a lot of finance like there's some incredible stuff out there. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like, is that something that obviously we're doing a podcast?
I back to the reading education for manning the fuck up kids. I think they need to be taught to use the tools they have to better themselves.
Okay.
Rather than just for entertainment or that social interaction. They need to use the tools. I mean, it's hard for them to understand what it was like before a phone.
Yeah.
It's hard for them to understand that the iPhone's only been around since 2007, which is like it's 15 years.
Yeah. You show them the first phone to the brick, and they're like,
I mean, what is that? That's radiation straight to the head, is what that is.
Fact.
But it's they need to be taught. We're not going to be able to take the tools away, nor are we willing to do it because we have become parents that rely.
Joy the nanny that lives inside the phone.
Yeah, we rely on it. So, okay, if you really want to distract your kids so much and, turn them into people who have the attention span of a wet noodle, fine. But at least do it on stuff that educates them and control what they're doing.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So as a whole grown-ass man, as an entrepreneur, as a father, as a husband, as all of those things now, when you look at your children and you see the resources that are at their fingertips, right? Do you ever find yourself going like, "Oh my God, if I could go back and be 50," like what would you do with that? If you could listen to podcasts now, like knowing what you
The
know
same
now.
fucking thing they're doing with it.
Yeah.
Whole lot of nothing.
Really?
It you know, it's especially as a boy, maturity comes with whatever. You know, if you're stubborn, if you got to, well, I mean, it's, would I have done something with it? Maybe, you know, I mean, it's, what are you talking about? Are you talking about social media? Or are you talking about the fact that they have all the knowledge in the world in their hand?
Mm-hmm.
You
That's,
know,
I think
that's that. Yeah. If I had all the knowledge in the world in my hand and I wasn't distracted by hoochies shaking their ass on friggin', 24/7 on Instagram. Yeah. I probably would have used it a little better.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess that to my point is because I know that you are at a place where, you respect what other great men have done and the way that they got there. Like, I know that, you changed your sleep habits because you know that, going to
Yeah.
bed earlier, getting up at 5 a.m., is one of those traits that many uber successful individuals have. Like there's certain things that very successful people do and that they have in common that they've actually shared with the masses.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of now successful people that have implemented that and are like, yo, that really does work. So when I say that, I guess it's like you have things like that. And there are some young people who are very focused at a young age, who have that entrepreneurial spirit at a young age, right? That want to go out, want to make money. And they have these incredible. So I guess for those kids, if you have somebody in your life pushing you towards podcasts, right? And being like, hey, check this out. Hey, check this out. Hey, why don't you take a listen to this guy?
Yeah.
You could really be
I've talked
helping them out.
I've talked to my kids about it. I mean, they're all entrepreneurial, every one of them. But they mostly have my attention span, which is, can be short, but the difference is, I think, between kids and adults is
I'm waiting to hear this. Okay.
well,
I hope a few
kids
differences, but
don't have to do the grind so much. Do you know what I mean? They can just, if I don't like it, fuck it. Adults don't have the option. Mm-hmm. If I don't like doing it, I still got to do it. It'll get me to where I want to go, but I still got to do it. I still got to do the grind. The kids don't have the grind yet.
Don't you think that it behoove them or be beneficial if we instilled that in them a little earlier? Like,
Absolutely.
I feel like that's why when we talk about sports over video games, sports, there are days when you don't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to a 5 a.m. practice, but you have to do it, right?
Absolutely.
And your passion overtakes that desire to lay in your bed, right? Like, teaching more kids that, steering them towards things that they're willing to sacrifice for when they're young. Like, so again, the more we go over this list, the more I feel like we can't continue just to point the finger at them without pointing
it's definitely
at us.
It's all the parents. It's all the parents. It's understanding that your kid is a kid, for one, and that, especially boys have a very short attention span. Once they hit 12 or 13, forget trying to keep their attention. If they're being an asshole, tell them to go take a cold shower. They'll be back. They'll be fine.
It's hormonal.
Of course it's hormonal. Teenagers are teenagers. But I look at my kids, they're all great kids.
Yes.
They're all well-mannered. They know how to talk to people. They're and the other shit will come. It might aggravate me, this, that, the other, but the fact is, I have good kids with good hearts that want to do the right thing. And, I mean, she's done 20 different things. She'll get started, she'll learn how to do it, and then, I'm done with it. She learned how to cook. She learned how to bake. She learned how to sew. She learned how to...
Where'd she get that from?
And shh. Obviously from her mother.
Yes.
So,
boy, oh boy.
Obviously.
I'm really beginning to see where you were going with how Miranda's a little bit more like you.
But they also have their things, she works out religiously on the daily. She, by herself, in the garage, wherever she can get in a workout, she does it. Joey, same thing. He goes to practice every day. He plays basketball every day. He wants to do it. Is there days... where I have to say, all right, you need to get off your ass and go do it, or Dad, I don't want to go to practice tomorrow. You got to go to practice. I don't care. It's just, you got to do it.
But how come you're not that way with Miranda?
I am.
Are you sure?
I am. I am that way when it comes to.
Like you said, she's done a million things and then she just gives it up. So do you ever
you
tell
know,
her, like, you need to stick with this a little longer?
I've encouraged that, but like it's the important things in life, Kimmy. The working out. If she says I don't feel like working out today, well, maybe you should just go for a walk. Maybe you should just do a little something. If you don't want to do your full hour and a half workout, I get it. But at least do something. So when it comes to stuff like that, you got to pick your battles.
Okay.
You know, she learned, she started sewing masks. She made a purse. Yeah, it's great. It's a job. I mean, she could have made it successful, but she's 15 years old. She doesn't need to be sitting in a sewing machine 24 hours a day. It's you can't have Stitched by Miranda stuff unless it's stitched by Miranda.
Yeah.
So, it's just, she wanted to learn how to do it. I encourage that.
I just think sometimes we need to push our kids to stay. And I, again, somebody's gonna be like toxic. I was a figure skater. And when I got to high school, we had this conversation, but I ended up getting mono. So I had to take a couple of months off in the summer because of just spleen issues. You can get really hurt. And I had tried out for cheering before I was diagnosed, so I could kind of sit on the sidelines. Long story short, I wanted to have like a high school experience. And at the time, though, I was frustrated with skating, right? Like I was growing, and when you grow, shit gets all off kilter. Like so I was falling, and it was just, I was not happy. I wasn't crushing it like I was when, for the first 5 or 6 years that I've been skating. So when I think back on it now, it was probably the easier way out instead of pushing through it and really sticking with something that my mother had spent a lot of money on and I had committed a lot of time to. But I look at, other things that I've done since then, and I'm very quick to kind of throw in the towel. When I love something, I do stick with it and I give it 200%, and that's that. But sometimes I look back and I'm like, I wish my mother maybe had been like, you're going to go back. You're going to give it at least 6 more months because I've spent so much on this. Like, because I think sometimes when you're a kid, you're just, you're a little all over the place. You're a little scattered.
There's other things that parents have to look at, okay? So, yeah, Miranda's done a bunch of different things, and I've encouraged her to learn them. The other thing you have to do along those times is give them those little nuggets that will transcend into anything that they really are passionate about. So, she wanted to do this. She wanted to do the math. She wanted to do the stitch by. I'm like, great. You have to do this, this, and this. You have to set it up correctly. It's a real business. You have to. So teaching them the structure of how to do things, no matter what it is, they can take that and plug it into whatever they finally find a passion for.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, am I encouraging her to stay as a seamstress? No.
But you seem to be pushing when Joey's committed to something like is that because there's other people that depend on him? Is that because it's not
sport,
just a pastime?
Yeah. It's a team, of course. But Joey he was at the sneaker show last Sunday selling sneakers. He had a table set up. He sat there all day.
Did he make some money? He's a little hustler though.
Yeah, he's a hustler, which is fine, which is again, Nick did the same thing when he was 13 years old. Bought and sold SBs. That was the thing then. He, and he cries now because he sold all of his sneakers, and they're sneakers that he had that were worth $2,000. So but they have to learn from those experiences. They don't necessarily have to be focused. Joey's not going to open a sneaker store, and
how do you know?
He might after he's a pro football player.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But it's the nuggets that you learn from these experiences that you take away. It's not like I tried it didn't work. They have to glean something from it. And as kids, they're not ready to glean all of it. So you want to give them the important foundations to go forward. So again, I'll let her do any job she wants, as long as it's
Yeah, I mean, again, but I guess that when I go back to sports, it's something that we value a lot, or that we place a lot of value on, especially for young men. And when you think about that commitment and what you're instilling in him every time you tell him, no, you can't miss practice, it's accountability, right? It's responsibility. It's showing up even when you don't want to show up. Like, those are life. Like, give me an example of when you've had that same opportunity to help Miranda learn those things.
You want an example?
Yeah.
She's in theater.
Okay. So that's her sport.
Yeah, that's her sport. She's in theater, and she dropped it she wanted to drop it. I'm like, look, you got to do something. I don't care what you do. You don't want to be in the show?
Okay.
That's fine. Go direct. Go be behind the scenes. You've been doing this since kindergarten. You need to continue it through high school.
But that's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
so she has
same thing.
That thing. So that there is a thing where you're teaching her those same, you're encouraging her that same level of commitment, see it through to the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And she's definitely a team player, and she's gone above and beyond for the theater department there, and she likes it. And she's.
But we all have rough. Sorry.
Doing.
That was one. That was only one though. But I say all of this because, again, as we're going through this list, I think some of those things, it's so important because even when you find that thing that you absolutely love and you're making your living out of it, you hit rough patches where you literally are like, fuck this.
I don't want to get up at 4 a.m.
Hello. I don't want to get up at 4 a.m. I'm sure, Len, you've had days in this office where you've wanted to throw that big, beautiful Mac screen at a wall. You know what I'm saying? But again, learning how to push through and learning that anything worth having is not going to come easy. And I think that's one of those invaluable tools. And we have to make sure we find ways to point those out with young people, because that is something that I think you learn early on. And I think that when we go back to that, Len, like when you have kids that just sit in a room playing video games, right? Unless you become that 12-year-old who made $3 million by winning the Call of Duty tournament, which can happen. But again, that's a parent who has now realized my child has a gift, so I'm going to let him play Call of Duty for 12 hours a day, and he's going to make millions, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's not everybody.
What is his kid going to look like? What is his kid's going to be plugged in?
But you know what I mean? Again, I just think that there's a level of responsibility. It always comes back to this. Accountability. If I get any tattoos, I'm getting accountability, and maybe
just get ManTFup.
That too. I'm not getting the bull though. I'm not.
No.
Maybe Rose.
It doesn't even have to be like that. It should just say, it can say it pretty. ManTFup.
Say it pretty. I love it. But I do think that it comes back to us and understanding that there's always somebody watching you, no matter what, right? Whether they're your own child, whether a niece or nephew, whether there's somebody in your neighborhood. Like, there's a kid in your neighborhood, Lenny, that watches you. And I don't mean that in a scary way, but there's one of Miranda's friends that's literally seeing this dude that was driving around in a truck with ManTFup, giving no fucks whatsoever. And it's like, I want to be like that.
Yes, right? Absolutely. That's community. That's, it's out there. It's out there. I'm at a weird time in my life with the double nickel thing and some shit going on. Mm-hmm. And there is shit that you don't ever want your kids to see or feel that you just can't help. Mm-hmm. So the things you really need to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. But I think sometimes we get caught up in our own, like, and that to me is like, we keep seeing these conversations, I think, on social media. I hate to take it back there, but it's like millennials versus boomers versus Gen Z versus Gen X. Like, it's all of these people pointing fingers. And it's like, at the end of the day, we have to learn from each other's mistakes. We have to pass down the wisdom and the things that we've learned. Everybody always thinks they know everything, and then as you get older, you look back and you're like, damn. Like, I tell everybody, I'm like, you couldn't pay me to go back to high school. I had a lot of fun in college, you know what I mean? But I'm so grateful that I'm no longer 21 years old, right? Like, all the things that I've learned in the past years, and I'm still learning every single day. And I feel like I was, pretty mature for my age my entire life, you know what I mean? In the sense of just, I had the opportunity to see the world. I did read. I had an incredible mother who was very present in my life, but there's still learning to be done. And it's ironic when you look back and you start to see your mother in the things that you do, or your father in the things that you do, or how you are in relationships, and everything, everything we say and do affects the next generation, the people that you come in contact with.
You sit back and you don't even realize, but, typically people end up with one of their parents
Yeah,
as
that's a
a
whole other.
significant other.
That's
But
a whole other
but
ManTFup
that
episode.
goes right back to what we're talking about. What you're instilling on your kids now, visually, is what they're going to end up with in their life.
Well, yeah, and that's why I think, especially when we talk about ManTFup and we talk about, there's a lot of conversations about men having lost the ability to lead, right? We see that a lot of times. You have people talking about high value men on the gram. It's a big conversation. We have feminine, there's a lot. There's quote unquote toxic masculinity. There's all of these things. But at the end of the day, being the things that we're discussing, it's still important. Like, we do still have.
I don't know why all this is getting outlawed. The whole toxic masculinity thing. I mean, listen, there's over the top, but if you don't like it, don't listen. You don't like it, you don't have to be with them. It's some women want to be.
This is not the conversation we're having.
But it's true.
It's not.
You brought up toxic masculinity.
No, but because I'm looking at this, and when we talk about teaching young men, it's like you still want to teach them to be men. And I'm sorry if somebody doesn't agree with me saying that. And what is a man and what is a woman? Like, at the end of the day, there is a certain set of, I don't want to say parameters, but it's like, leadership, accountability. I think empathy is one of those things, like good, being a good man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think being good humans across the board is important,
Yeah.
But again, when we're talking about young men, the messaging is just all over the place right now. And I feel bad. Like, again, that's why today was really a you thing, because you're the man on this couch, and I know you have very strong views about, men being men.
I don't know. Everybody, there's a different level of man to everyone. I mean, some guys like to hunt, some guys like to do this.
Yeah.
There's different levels of
100%.
being
There's a meter.
man, but there should be a baseline. A baseline should be respectful, especially to women. You never lay your hand on a woman. There's a few guidelines that should be there. You should always open the door. You should just be polite.
You like chivalry.
I mean, it's important. Those are core things, Eat like a human, I mean,
Like a human.
there's just
I love you, buddy.
there's just, there's core
You
values.
want to send them to manners classes now?
There's
What's going on?
there's core values that men should have. And they're men. These two words have been around for a long time. Men and women, okay? They're not the same. They never will be the same. So, the whole masculinity, the versus the femininity, it's all bullshit.
Well,
I'm a man, you're a woman. It's always going to be that way. No matter what you call yourself, no matter what I call myself.
no, and it has nothing to do with, and I want to be very clear. We're not talking about, this has nothing to do with sexuality. It
No.
has nothing to do, like this, absolutely. I enjoy the fact that I have some masculine attributes, but I also love the fact that I'm a woman and that I can be.
I mean, if you go out
feminine.
with a guy, you want him to open the door for you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that. So,
I mean, I'm not docking points.
No,
not
but I'm
like,
saying-
But if he shuts it in my face, then I might be like, okay.
no, but I'm
Don't be a
saying to you,
Richard.
if a guy opens the door for you, says,
Yeah, I love it. I love
orders your dinner, I mean, things like that. It's like, but I'm seeing this as people attacking that as
well, and that's what I'm saying is that I feel like the messaging for young men right now is definitely, all across the board, and it's difficult because, again, if you're on social media, if you're watching television, and you're not getting somebody at home or in your life exemplifying things to look up to, then it's like you're just out here willy-nilly picking and choosing. It's like, you go to a pizza place and the next thing you know, you got anchovies, pineapple, you got all kinds of crazy shit all over the top of your pizza, right? As opposed to having somebody that's kind of setting the tone, right, and showing you or leading by example. That, to me, I think is the biggest thing. It's like, men, let's lead by example. Let's not accost women in the workplace, right? Like, if we want to change the dynamic, it's it's going to be a work in progress. You don't snap your fingers and all of a sudden erase thousands of years of programming. That's not the way evolution works. Yes, we want to do better as a society, as a community, but at the end of the day, you also still need to empower men to be men. Women can, that doesn't mean women can't lead. It doesn't mean women can't run things, right? But there's nothing wrong with encouraging your young sons to also aspire, like to continue to aspire to leadership, whether that's on a sports field or in an office or in their own business or in their family. Like that to me is the conversation, but you need to see that, you know what I'm saying, from people in your life. And sometimes I think we've dropped the ball and then the conversation gets skewed and all we're doing is pointing out these bad examples of what it is to be a man.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
Do you know what I'm
there's
saying?
a lot of bad examples, and
but that seems to be what we're focusing on, and then it's like, okay, and guess what? We all fuck up. We all make mistakes.
The bad examples go viral.
Well, yeah. But it's like even the dad, right? Even the dad who, like, you could have the best dad ever, and if you get down, Len, I'm sure you fucked something up. My dad has fucked something up.
I fuck shit up all the time.
But here's the deal, and I don't have the closest relationship with my father, but at the end of the day, I know some of the best characteristics in me I got from him. And I also know over time, he did the best with what he had. You know what I mean? With how he was raised. With
That's an aha
for
moment.
Sure, for sure. And I went through my moments where I was angry and I don't want to talk to you. And you're like, you know, all of those, we go through that. But I step back now and I realize, like, when I'm around him, I am so much my father's daughter. And I've had nowhere near the amount of time that your daughter has had with you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. My mother still to say, you're making your father's face. You know what I mean? She'll laugh. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm so him. And I'm grateful for that, you know? And I've been forgiving, but I can look back on it and go, he didn't have that. He didn't have the I love you dad in his life. He didn't have necessarily the dad that wanted to be an integrated part of everything that his children did. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, just to any of the fellas watching right now, I say be very aware of what you do. I'm not saying you're not going to fuck up and don't put undue pressure on yourself, but just understand somebody is watching all the time. And I mean that respectfully. Like, these kids are walking around these streets that you may never meet in your life, but they're looking up to you.
Yep. And own your fuck ups.
Yes.
Own your fuck ups.
Can I tell you something?
That's the example they need to learn.
That's being a man, and that is being a woman. Being able to say, I fucked that up, that was my bad, without a but, without trying to find some reason why you made me do it, just owning the shit.
Yep.
And let me tell you something, ladies, we're the worst at that. And we are the worst. And I can say that because I'm a woman, so leave whatever comments you want to leave, you know, below. But the point is, we have to get better at owning that stuff too. We say things to men that if they ever said to us, oh my God. And words are powerful, right? You know?
Yeah. So, most of you can't understand normal thinking.
Okay, well, now you're just taking it to a completely different level. Like,
this
is why we say the shit that we say, Lenny. I'm having a moment. I'm trying to encourage women to own their shit, and this is what you do. You just make me want to say, don't be a Richard, Lenny. Don't be a Richard right now. Again, we got sidetracked. But anyway, I think this guy had a good list of things. The last one I want to talk about, being a gentleman, which I think we already touched on, being a gentleman specifically over porn. Again, if you're you're not really just tuning in, but this guy was saying, what if we showed our young men how to value? And he listed off a bunch of things that we've already touched on. But this one right here is being a gentleman over porn. We are a porn-infatuated country. We know this, probably more so than any other country.
I wouldn't say that. Well,
no.
Listen. Okay.
Yes.
Standard porn, probably. Freaky ass porn.
Okay.
That's other countries.
Okay. We're good. Let's just stick with your everyday. Just stick with your run-of-the-mill porn. I'm not talking about fetishes and the rest of the weird shit. Oh, okay. Sorry to be judgmental.
Sorry.
Guys. No.
So, guys, listen. Being a gentleman is very important. You should open the door for your women. You should take care of your women as best you can.
Do you know that there's a movement right now, though, that would call you a simp for saying that?
I'm not finished.
Of course it's not. Oh,
do you think you're cutting me off?
I gave you too much credit. Go. Finish what you were going to say.
Easy. No, there's a time and a place for everything, okay? There's a time and a place for everything, okay? Your woman wants to be respected. She wants to be taken care of. I don't care who she is. The most powerful woman in the world wants a gentleman. I don't care who she is. She could be a $500 an hour attorney. She wants a gentleman when she goes out to dinner.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else when you said $500 an hour. Yes, a $500 an hour attorney. Okay, that was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or a $500 an hour porn star. It doesn't matter. They all want that feeling. But by the same token, they want, for the most part, most of the women I met, like men, like, a man who's got a good grip, or who I don't know how to describe it. A more dominant personality. And I don't know how to say it delicately. The porn is important, but the gentleman is important too. It's both important.
Well, I think the problem is, again, because when we look at this list of things, Instagram videos, TikTok, right? Mm-hmm. When you're saturating your brain with images of manufactured sex, you get a very skewed perspective as to what that is actually supposed to be like in a real...
Be a gentleman and ask her what she wants.
...relationship. But I also just think that it's hyper-sexualizing young men.
It's not real.
But they don't, you know what I'm saying? But
it's not real.
It's so accessible, Lenny, right now. I know this.
Listen, I know that. But by the same token...
But it's no longer a
By
Playboy,
the same token, the girls are getting the same stuff. The girls are getting that same vibe. The young girls are getting the same vibe that the young boys are with all of this crap that's going on.
I think it's different. Because although I don't know, I can't speak to young girls watching porn.
I mean, I was 11 years old when I saw Debbie Does Dallas. So it's the same type of thing that they're getting. I'm saying is,
I think young girls are being taught to hypersexualize themselves, because we're scrolling Instagram and you're seeing a shit ton of, girls booty out, you know what I mean? Like we've been raised in this, and I'm sorry to put this on but this Kardashian era, right, where it's manufactured and everything else. So I think it's different. This is one of those things where it's like, if you have a 12-year-old who just starts inundating themselves with porn, now you think chicks want to have their, like, every girl wants to be slapped in their face with your penis and come on, and pee on me, and like, it can.
That's really, a clip.
It can. Nestor, if you use that as a clip, make sure you pull the whole entire thing and don't just cut that part, all right?
That girl wants to be slapped in her face with her penis.
No, but that's scary, because now when you get into a relation, we're having this conversation about men being, young boys getting mixed messages. Like, now you're away at college and it turns into if you've been watching snuff porn, no doesn't mean no. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and you're absolutely right. And that it goes along with everything that core value, that you have to respect women, and you have to understand that this is this and this is not this, and it's difficult. But again, the kids are hyper exposed.
Yes, but you have to teach them. Like, and that's what as I'm reading more of these, what if we showed our young men how to value these things? Which means we are not showing them that, which means it's got to come from, again, the male figures
parents.
And the parents. And some people don't have that, right? So it's the mentors. It's the coaches.
Yeah.
It's the teachers. It's the people that are, it's the older people on your job. It's all of these conversations.
It's not the priest. Sorry, I had to throw it in there.
I think if we went back through every clip, you managed to take a shot at priests at least once a podcast.
I like them. They're easy targets.
Listen, but
easy targets.
That I think is the bigger thing. And to your point, there's a time and a place for everything. As a strong female, I was joking before we started this podcast, I pride myself on BDE. I have no problem giving up big energy and an alpha, but I do in the bedroom like to be led. Like, I don't like.
Clip.
You can
clip.
Make that one a clip. You can make that one a clip.
You got to switch it around, though. I live in the bedroom, like to be led, and then the penis to the face.
Oh my God, no! Leave the penis to the face. If somebody watches this, I'm gonna catch a charge. Don't try that. Don't try these things at home, folks. Unless you have watched it together and she seems interested.
I will tell you this, boys. The freaks usually gravitate to the freaks. So all of that sexual things that you're seeing aren't necessarily for you. Don't try and force them on anybody, but it will come.
Yeah. Well, and the right person can bring
Yeah.
that out.
That'll
of
bring
you.
it out. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But again, that's time. But it's just, I like that value of being a gentleman because right now it's just wild. And it goes back to, again, the mixed messaging that people are getting. So you get one thing coming from social media. And then if you're not getting a balance on the other side of it, and now we're asking you to be men. We're asking you to be accountable. We're asking you to be respectful. And this is all you know. Well, this is what you think people want. And then if it goes back to you're not taught to communicate properly.
Yeah.
So now you're not even asking, and you're getting in this situation. And the next thing you know, she's screaming and crying, whatever the case may be, or he.
Yeah.
Whatever,
I think
whatever
part of society today is leaning towards, interaction without ever dating. You have a lot of this just hookup thing going on with the younger generation, and it's like there's nothing there. A gentleman for what? We're discussing this online. It's like an arranged marriage type of thing.
That's funny that you said that. A gentleman for what? I feel like that's that should be a line in a song or a hashtag.
But that is where this part of the society is going. It's that instant gratification. Why do I have to go through all this bullshit?
But it's funny because, listen, when you go through the bullshit and you actually find a real connection, you realize just how much better all of it actually is.
Yeah.
This conversation got inappropriate considering the initial subject or content. But anyway, listen.
Inappropriate.
We're over here talking about porn and sex, although it was on the list. I mean, we were talking about raising young men. And now we're out here talking about
being dominated in the bedroom, slapped in the face with a penis.
Yes. I mean, that's my fault. My fault. Listen, Lenny.
We're sending that clip to last.
Don't be a Richard. I already said it. Jesus. Can't get away with nothing on this podcast. All right. So, I mean, that's basically, that's basically the end. Are you having fun? I think Lenny needed this. I'm glad that I can bring you a little smile and enjoyment to your life, Len. But no, I think these are good things. But again, it comes back. It always comes back full circle. Like, we have to, be the change you want to see, or, be the future that you want to see. So if you want to see young people grow and evolve into contributing incredible, and they have the ability to do it, they have the tools to do it, and they have the tools to be better. That's I think the most heartbreaking part of this is that they have so many resources to do and exceed and supersede any of our expectations.
Well, they have to go back to we need some more James Bond role models and less Kanye role models, I think. That's just my feeling, but kids they need more of that. They need more of that, more of that educated guy.
We need more Obama.
Making viral.
We need
more
that's
Obamas, fine. Whatever.
Less Kanye's.
Whatever. They need gentlemen that are, still upholding what it's been forever.
What it's been forever?
Yeah, gentlemen have always been, kind of a certain way. Respectful, this, that.
Yeah, I mean, there's
not
things that you would.
Yeah, I mean, there's a list that you could probably go back hundreds of years with.
I mean, James Bond was kind of a hoe, but he was not disrespectful to women.
Exactly, and he was well dressed and he was well mannered.
Yeah,
and
very smart.
I mean, he was a womanizer, but
I'll tell you something. James Bond read books, but he wasn't. But here's the deal: James Bond was single.
Yeah.
So he was just playing the field. You know what I mean? So yes, he ran through a lot of, and he probably left a lot of broken hearts in his wake. But
no, dead bodies.
Okay,
they all got killed.
All the women didn't get. Oh yeah, they did. They really do.
Almost all of them.
Whoever he's like.
I think there was maybe one that lived.
Never a good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically like a guarantee you're not making it to the next movie.
Yeah.
As if you're James's.
Not to mention they were all someone else's girlfriend.
Oh. Well, I guess I need to go back and rewatch my James Bond.
So we need some more James Bond.
Great. Not not if we're talking about healthy relationships, but okay. But yeah, I mean, I just challenge, I think, the men out there to be mentors, to be role models. I know some people are like, that's not what I signed up for. It doesn't matter. As a person walking this earth, it's your responsibility.
It's what you
period.
signed up for. You used your pencil and you signed it. You dotted the I, sir.
Well, you're talking if you're a dad, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even if you're not, like, Nestor's not a dad yet.
No.
But at the end of the day, Nestor is a role model to the young men that are in and around him, you know?
Absolutely.
Like I said, even if whether he knows it or not.
I mean, I can even see it with White Boy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like evolved over the last couple of years. It's crazy, you know, because he was like a little kid when he came here, even though he was 24 years old. But he was like, you know.
But again, if you've only been around the same thing and now you're exposed to different things.
Yeah, he's totally, you know,
I'm sure you're nothing like his dad.
No, or probably not. I mean, he was a Catholic school kid that went to UCF. So.
But he has, Nestor, he is Austin. He's got other
frat boy.
You know,
he's a frat boy.
That he is. But he's got other men.
Yes.
You know, that he can. Yes. You know, whether he.
Yeah, he's loosened up a lot. Yep.
But yeah, so again, lead by example. Own
your shit.
Own your shit.
Yeah.
That's like, I think, the best stuff. Is there anything you would add to this?
That's
like,
very difficult.
Is there anything that you would add to that?
That's
I think
that's
the
thing.
one.
That's the hardest thing you can do as a man is.
What would you say that's over, though? Like, if you were going to add that to this list, like, what if we showed our young men how to value, like, owning their shit over what? Deflection? Like, what would be the other thing? Over excuses? Like, owning your shit over making excuses?
I mean, if it's your fault, it's your fault. If you fuck up.
So what? Oh, over ego, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good one, too.
Yeah.
Being able to, because that really is why we tend to make excuses, Nestor said, over your ego.
Yeah. Or, you know, I mean, listen, it's funny. You guys make fun of me because I listen to classical a little bit. But,
I don't make fun of you.
But you know what I'm saying. So yes. People make fun of me because I listen to classical.
Well, he listens to Metallica, and then he's got on Beethoven, so it's a little bit of a juxtaposition there, buddy. But go ahead.
No, it's about the same. It clearly is. But it's, you know, part of that comes because I'm tired of hearing these fucking lyrics. I'm tired. And this is what, you know, another thing that our youth is being raised on is a lot of these lyrics. And it's not that they're that much different than lyrics from the 70s, because they're not.
But the way that they were laid out.
Yes.
Different.
Yes.
Different. Yes. For real.
No, absolutely.
Like Marvin Gaye versus...
Bitch better have my money.
Yeah. Versus Juvenile or Mystical.
Got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. You know, it's like these are the role models that our kids are looking up to, and they don't get it at 10 years old and 11 years old that this is just music. You know, and it's just a form of entertainment. Mm-hmm. They look at these people like role models, and you know, it's difficult. I mean, you know, Rollins band, Henry Rollins, you know, Black Flag. They were pretty hardcore on what they said.
You can throw Marilyn.
Oh yeah,
Manson
Marilyn Manson. You know, I mean, Eminem, all of the music. So that's what pushed me a little to classical, because it's music at its purest form. Mm-hmm. You know, you can listen to music that's 300 years old, and it sounds like it was made yesterday. Yeah. You know, it's still relevant. You know, what's going to be relevant to someone in 50 years? Jay-Z? I don't know. Eminem?
Yeah.
I mean, I can appreciate all the genres.
Gold Digger by Kanye will probably still be relevant in a few years. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding. But yeah. I'm not mad at that, but I do like owning your own shit. And it's okay to like admit your flaws. You know what I mean?
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody. It's a part of life. And I think that that's one of those things that we do. When we talk about that mixed messaging, we put a lot of pressure on men to be, I mean, we put pressure on women in different ways, right? Like it's perfection is different.
Yeah.
And for men, when you think stereotypically, right? For men versus for women, perfection for women is usually, you know, being young. It's looking a certain way. It's, you know,
Yeah,
those
I mean,
things.
you know,
It's
and there's
physical.
the accepting of someone owning their shit too. That's a whole nother, you know, because everybody could say, "Oh, just tell the truth, just own your shit." You know, it's your okay. I did it. You know, your whole comment
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
shut them down.
What do you say to that?
Yeah, no. What do you mean? What do you
Well,
say
they
to that?
keep going. Well,
They
yeah.
get you know, that then opens a whole nother can of worms. Now they resent you because you're not telling them that it's you, and then they resent you because you tell them the truth. You know, it's like if you're gonna own your shit, if you want a man to own his shit, accept the shit that he's gonna tell you.
But
That's a whole.
and that's a whole other conversation. But yes, it is, because that is why I think, honestly, men lie.
That's right.
Men lie because we cannot accept, and that's across the board.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. You know, I'm ready to get married. You know, I don't want to say I
never
love
heard that
yous,
one.
but like, I think there's a lot of things. I think it happens even in
Yes.
in jobs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you lie. Like, are you like, can you handle this? Yes. No. Like, but you're not going to say no, because then you don't get the job. So you say
Yep.
yes, and then you drive yourself crazy, or you fall short. You let somebody down. You know, men.
Yep.
And it happens to women too. This is not a men.
It's a
exclusive
very
thing.
difficult thing because men, and I think some women too. I mean, men want to constantly do better and achieve, and it's difficult. You got to just step back sometimes and go, "Hey, listen, I can't do it."
Well, yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and that's true definitely for women too. You have a lot of
Yeah.
moms out there that are juggling jobs, and they always feel like they're failing at something, right? But again, when you get to that point, it's being able to say,
Yeah.
I can't take any more on my plate right now. And that is something that is very, very, very difficult, and it's frowned upon when it comes to men, especially. And ladies, again, I'm not saying that it's not for us, but it's different for men.
That's the same. But that's that. Yeah, but it's you know, some men might frown upon that with their women.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. This is a whole nother episode. We'll have to.
It
we'll have to
really
touch
is.
on this
But
another
again,
time.
I wanted your take, but I think that you brought up a great point to add to this list. It's owning your shit. Like, let's instill in our young men how to value, you know, owning your shit, owning your limitations, or at least acknowledging your limitations. It's not that you can't overcome them, but you can only overcome them if you first acknowledge that you have them, right?
Yeah.
And that means you're putting the betterment of yourself and the people around you over your own ego, over your own excuses, over your own failures. I think that's a good one to add to this. So, Mr. Matt Boudreau, you need to add this to your Instagram list here. I think you did good today, Len.
It was all right.
That was some
I
good
didn't-
insight.
Yeah, I will.
You talked about priests, so I'm sure you feel good. You
Yeah.
got at least one in. I made jokes about getting slapped in the face with a dick. Cool. That'll probably end up really making it onto TikTok too. Great. Angelique.
Nestor's already making the. He
know.
already wrote the time down for those clips.
I know. Nestor, you don't
That's
need to
gonna
add
be.
any more
That's a
time
montage clip.
to the board. We're done.
That's a montage clip.
It's gonna be an NFT.
Wait, are you kidding me? Well, my shirt says "Vibes Don't Lie," right? I'm just giving up. I've got all kinds of messaging happening right now. But anyway, this podcast is over. Thank you for tuning in to the ManTFup podcast. Remember, you can stream us anywhere podcasts are available. That's Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeart, Pandora, Buzzsprout. We're on all social media: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, at ManTFupTV. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share. Definitely comment. We've been getting some great feedback on the TikTok account. Lots of new content, I think, coming from a lot of the comments. So be on the lookout for that. You can always, if you have anything in particular to say, you can go ahead, Len. This is your part.
If you have any questions about anything you heard on today's show, email us at KimmyB.
Aside from my sexual preferences in the bedroom, please keep
Email
going
us
to yourself.
at KimmyB@ManTFupTV.com.
Oh my god. We'll see you next week. I'm done.
Bye.